Have you ever thought about how nature likes to arrange itself in patterns? Is there any mathematical concept behind these iconic pieces? Nothing in nature happens without a reason. All of these patterns have an important reason to exist, and they also happen to be beautiful to watch. What is golden ratio? What is Fibonacci numbers? How is the golden ratio is related to Fibonacci numbers? Do you know? Some artists and architects believe that the golden ratio makes the most pleasing and beautiful shape. Why is it so? To know more about this, welcome to the channel Get Smart. Golden ratio, also known as divine proportion. It is denoted by phi. The golden ratio goes on forever. It is an irrational number. The golden ratio is equal to 1.618. We find the golden ratio when we divide a line into two parts, so that the long part divided by the short part is equal to the whole length divided by the long part. A divided by B is equal to A plus B divided by A. The value that satisfies this condition is 1.618. 1 to 1.6. This is the ratio that's called the golden ratio. The golden ratio is best approximated by the famous Fibonacci numbers. Fibonacci numbers are a never-ending sequence starting with 0 and 1 and continuing by adding the previous two numbers. So, if we add 0 and 1, we get 1. And 1 and 1 gives us 2. 1 and 2 gives us 3. And so on and so forth. By dividing each Fibonacci number by the previous Fibonacci number gives the golden ratio. In fact, the higher the Fibonacci numbers, the closer their relationship to 1.618. If we create squares using Fibonacci numbers and place them adjacent to each other, we get something called as golden rectangle. And this is the golden spiral. Golden spiral is a logarithmic spiral whose growth factor is phi. That is, a golden spiral gets wider or further away from its origin by a factor of phi for every quarter turn it makes. We can see this golden spiral everywhere, in the Nautilus shells, in the shape of our ears, and so on. But we don't just see this golden ratio in a small scale. We can also see this in the spirals of our storms, hurricanes, and so on. These all spin in the golden sequence 1 to 1.6. And from the alignments of planets to the spirals of our Milky Way galaxy, we can see this golden spiral. For example, if we count the numbers of spirals in a pine cone in one direction, it gives you a Fibonacci number. And if you count the numbers of spirals in another direction, you will again find the adjacent Fibonacci number. And the ratio of these two numbers is 1.6. This divine proportion is even found in the sunflower. We can see these golden Fibonacci numbers in the seed patterns and in the spirals of plants, as well as the number of petals in a flower. The goldenness in the golden ratio is in the floral arrangement of seeds. There should exist some angle, some number of turns to produce a pattern of seeds that is closely packed together with no gaps between them. To achieve a pattern like this, the seeds should be placed after every 137.5 degrees. And this is known as the golden angle, and it is seen all throughout nature. This sequence plays an important role in the plant's health. This pattern allows each leaf to receive maximum exposure to sunlight, air, and water, without depriving another leaf of needed light or space, and directing water down to the root of many plants. It is simply undeniable that this ratio is nothing but beautiful, purposeful, and devised perfectly for life to flourish. This depicts the immeasurable compassion and mercy of the One who made it all come together. The most important thing is, even our body follows this golden ratio. The distance from our shoulder to our elbow is 1, and then from our elbow to our fingertips is 1.6. Yes, the golden ratio. But it doesn't stop here. The distance from our fingertips to our wrist is 1, and from our wrist to our elbow is 1.6. Even from the furthest tip of our finger to the bottom of our fingers is 1, and from the bottom of our fingers to our wrist is 1.6. The spacing of our knuckles is 1 to 1.6. From the head to our belly button is 1, and from our belly button to our feet is 1.6. Have you ever wondered why our two front teeth are so much bigger? Because of golden ratio. There are so much proportions like this in our body. The idea is that visually pleasing faces tends to have proportions that are somewhat close to the golden ratio. The closer you are to it, the more beautiful your face should be. God has said in the Quran, "On earth are signs for those whose faith is certain, and also in yourselves. Will you not then see?" So in these verses, God is saying that there are signs on earth and in ourselves. If we look a little closer within our own bodies, these signs become clearer. In the verses of the Quran, it is revealed that God created man within a proportion. He who created you and formed you and proportioned you and assembled you in whatever way He willed. All our finger sizes are different, yet due to the golden ratio and spiral sequence, we are able to close our fist as tight as possible. We are able to do so much intricate work with our hands. We never think about how much maths and mechanics goes into our everyday movements. In the holy book of Quran, this is why God says repeatedly in the chapter 55. So which of the favors of your Lord would you deny? In the study carried out between 1985 and 1987, the American physicist Bruce West and professor of medicine Ari Goldberger revealed the existence of golden ratio in the structure of the lung. One feature of the network of the bronchi that constitutes a lung is that it is asymmetric. For example, the windpipe divides into two main bronchi, one long on the left and the other short on the right. This asymmetrical division continues in the subsequent divisions of the bronchi. It was determined that in all these divisions, the proportion of the short bronchus to the long was always in the golden ratio. The golden ratio is even found in the DNA. The DNA molecule measures 34 angstroms long by 21 angstroms wide for each full cycle of its double helix spiral. These numbers are the Fibonacci numbers, and their ratio is 1.6. When applied to graphic design, the golden ratio simply provides us with a way of creating harmony and proportion that our subconscious mind seems to be attracted to. Golden ratio is the perfect illustration of beauty. The Mona Lisa painting, the Parthenon in Greece, the Taj Mahal, they all look attractive because they follow the golden ratio. In relation with this divine proportion, God has said in the Quran, "If you tried to count Allah's blessings, you would never be able to number them. Surely Allah is all forgiving, most merciful." Now look at this verse closely. Something amazing is found in this verse. This verse has 10 words with exactly 39 letters. If you count the letters in the first part of this verse, you would find 24 letters. Compare this with the second part of the verse. You will get 15 letters. The ratio that emerges from this comparison is 1.6. In this verse, God is comparing the word blessing with the golden ratio, as his blessings cannot be counted, just like the golden ratio cannot be counted, since the golden ratio is an irrational number. Just like the golden ratio never ends, God's blessings is also infinite. God has said in the Quran, "Verily, the first house of worship appointed for people was that at Becca, full of blessing and a guidance for all that exist." In this verse, Becca refers to the Kaaba and the sacred site surrounding it. God uses the word blessings in this verse also. Surprisingly, the proportion of distance between Becca and North Pole to the distance between Becca and South Pole is exactly 1.6. The proportion of eastern distance to the western distance of Becca is again 1.6. The total number of letters in the verse is 47. We find out that the word of Mecca is expressed by 47 divided by 1.618. Miraculously, there are 29 letters from the beginning of the verse till the word Becca. If only one single word or letter was missing, this ratio could never been constituted. The golden ratio is merely something which all human beings are attracted to. Some creatures even live accordingly to the golden ratio. We can also find the golden ratio in the objects which are at the quantum level too. There are many other examples for this golden ratio. This ratio is the evidence that nature has been designed by God. Indeed, we have created everything in a measure.